right. Well, welcome back to another talk here. We're working through a little bit of In Walked Bud, and I'm going to discuss a little bit of maybe some perspectives on it they might think about, and then talk about a few different topics. So you were talking a little bit about building preamps,
Yeah.
which I've never done or even investigated that. So what's that all
Well,
about?
there's lots of stuff to do. Um, so many choices now. It used to
Okay.
be, I learned to do it by teaching myself how to build electronic stuff,
Yeah.
especially vacuum tube
Okay.
stuff, which is a really great way to kill yourself
All
if
right.
you're not careful,
Okay.
because it's very high voltage and in some cases very high current,
Yeah.
and it's current that will do it. But there's lots of DIY pedal kits now.
Okay.
There's stuff where you can just buy a PC board, and then they have instructions and a bill of materials, and you collect all your parts, put it together.
Yeah.
In this case, I'm doing a copy of the Alembic F2B, which is a copy of the Fender dual bass or dual Showman, 3-band EQ,
Okay.
volume and gain.
Yeah.
Very simple, really can sound great.
Okay.
Stuff just sounds good through it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is with technology now, we can do a very small power supply inside a pedal. So I can run full-size tubes, like 12AX, 7s, ATs, that size,
Yeah.
in a box at the proper voltage, 300, 350 volts,
Okay.
where tubes sound good.
Yeah.
Not that what they call starved plate, where they'll put a tube in something and run it way down to the bottom of its curves, so it's basically distorting.
Okay.
And that's what people seem to associate with the tube sound.
Right.
Tubes are actually very clear sounding.
Okay.
It can be very open and clean. And
Right.
so so I'm going to do a couple of those. One in a pedal, and then I think one in a rack unit to have
Okay.
at home.
So what's the advantage of working with a tube?
They have a sound.
Okay.
They just have a sound. It's
Kind of like a warmth.
well,
maybe,
there
or-
can be, or like I say, or they can be very clear. It depends on
Okay.
the kind of circuit you surround them with, and where, what voltage and current you run the tube with.
Okay.
Because most tubes will work over a very wide range
Okay.
of voltage and current, and there's usually a kind of a magic window
Yeah.
where they just sound their best. It's very
Okay.
present, just big and gorgeous, and surprisingly accurate.
Okay.
It doesn't have that sort of furriness that we associate with a lot of tube gear.
Right.
Do it right, it's just, it's like what you put in comes out louder.
Okay. Yeah.
But you can do the same thing with solid state, properly designed.
Right. So a lot of folks who are watching right now sure have experience using tube amps versus solid state amps and different experiences with each one of those. Yeah, when you say tubes, I oftentimes associate that with maybe overdriven guitar or natural sort of breakup, compression, clipping sort of.
You can do that, like with this preamp that I'm going to build.
Okay.
That I'm working on. I think I actually have most of the parts now. If you push the tube, it will start to misbehave. You can, and that's that sound that everybody likes. And it can sound a little compressed, but it depends on the tube you're using.
Okay.
Just standard preamp tubes of the 12AX series.
Yeah.
But there's ATs, AUs, and they all work at sort of different voltages, different currents, and behave slightly differently.
Yeah.
And they will break up slightly differently.
Okay.
So you can really tune a tube circuit to do pretty much whatever you want.
Nice.
Say I like this circuit just because it has a certain sound that's it's big, and it can be very punchy.
Yeah.
You can overdrive it if you want, but no, I just want the kind of big tube sound.
Okay. And is this designed for bass guitar or is this designed?
No, you can
for
run
just-
anything through it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Say Alembic did the F2B. I think they still make it.
Okay.
And that is a copy of a Fender, just the preamp section
Yeah.
I think it was the Dual Showman. That's all it is.
Cool.
It's a minimum parts count,
Yeah.
a couple of tubes, put it in a box, get your power supply right. Power supply is everything
Okay.
in
yeah,
audio.
Yeah. So do you plan to use this for your own gear for your
Yeah.
own setup? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just as part of my own rig.
Okay. Cool.
Because I use, the big rig is my insane iPad setup.
Yeah.
But something where I could have like this and a tuner
Yeah. Okay.
and a volume pedal,
There you go.
for these quick in and out
Yeah.
things, or something where I just need something simple and straight ahead.
Right. Right. So is there anything on the market that you're deciding, well, I'd rather custom build this to get a certain sound, or is it like just the sound that you don't like or is there's nothing that's kind of comparable?
Oh no, there is
There's-
actually.
okay.
There's a company who does Sushi Box Effects, does the
Okay.
particle accelerator. And you can
Okay.
actually buy the PC boards to make this yourself, which is
Wow.
way cool.
Okay.
Frog pedals, same thing.
Okay.
I basically have so many spare parts.
Uh-huh.
I can go shopping in my workroom and say, okay, I want to build this. And usually I have everything
Yeah.
at this point,
That's awesome.
which is fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's stuff out there. It's beautifully built,
Okay.
but I'm cheap and I have the parts.
There
And
you go.
I like to build.
Like to build. Yeah. Awesome.
It's the idea that you can take a box full of stuff and put it together in such a way that you can put music through it.
Yeah.
And it comes out sounding better on the other end. That fascinates me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we were talking about your signal chain and all that last time. And,
Right.
So if you can custom design your own thing, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
It's fun. And yeah, when you're done, you plug into it and go, hey, I made that.
Yeah.
And it's all right. Going and buying stuff is immediate gratification. Yeah, it's way more fun to build.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about In Walked Bud here today, and we did a little talk on this with the lessons and talks in the member area. So what are some things that you find appealing just about the song in general? The changes, the melody.
Well, the melody's great. It is a monk tune, and I love Thelonious Monk.
Yeah.
Melody is fun. Like a lot of monk tunes, the melody is kind of lighthearted. A lot of times there is a lightness and a joy
Yeah.
to the melodies. Excuse me, but then you get to the chords and go, wait a minute, okay, what's going on?
Right.
But this is one I said, and the other thing that I've said in the past, I love inner motion in chord changes.
Yeah.
And in this one, we've got these walk downs from the seventh.
Right.
Yeah,
Let's talk about those.
that's something that, so here's this beautiful movement that is not the root.
Mm-hmm.
So every set of chords, that the tension or lack of tension or that changes every one, and that's really cool.
Yeah. And then you could say, okay, well, so we get, right, we get this note, which we could say, okay, that's a minor major 7.
Right.
It's a really cool sound. Right. And then we get to the flat 7. And this is another really kind of cool thing too, is that you could use some of these devices in soloing.
Oh, yeah.
Too, to just kind of pivot off. So it's got this one note going.
Yeah, it's all moving around the 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. And then that fourth bar where you get goes to B flat.
Yeah.
That's just, it's interesting. We've gone 3 minor chords, so we've got 3 A flats in a row on the F minor.
Yeah.
Then that goes up to B flat.
Yep.
The 7 has come down to the third of the B flat. It is this gorgeous little kind of rotational stuff's going down, stuff's going up. This is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I was just talking to about this to a student where I keep talking about this with actually really a lot of students, which is everything above the 5th when it comes to minor is kind of subject to change. Although this tune is in a major key, we're visiting this minor at least for a period of time. So you get all these things that it just kind of surveys really kind of all those things from above the C to the root, right? So it's all these different kind of scales that you could kind of use this to practice with. That's the harmonic minor, melodic minor, or minor, and then natural minor. It kind of surveys almost all those things, right from just the four bars.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good practice tool, but also just fun to get some maybe insights into what Thelonious Monk might have been working through there. It's hard to say, hard to speak for a composer. But.
Yeah. This is a song he wrote about Bud Powell. Love Bud Powell.
Yeah.
And so you get this in Monk's mind, what I think is a character sketch. But to me, it's just so happy.
Yeah.
But as you're saying with the when you go to solo over, because you have so many options, you almost have every note available.
Yeah.
You almost have all 12 notes.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just, you can do what you want.
It's going to survey right through that, isn't it? Because you're going to end up with, we end up with an A natural a little bit later on with the F7.
Right.
So you've got, if we just kind of surveyed a bunch of the notes, we're going to have that. We have the D natural, D flat. Well, we covered all the notes.
Yeah, we've kind of played them all at some point. Yeah, and it's like as we talked in that other thing, if you're not watching it, go see the other thing.
Yeah.
When you get to bars 5, 6, and 7, we're going from that A flat 6. So that's the F there, then F7. There's the A, then B flat minor. I've got that.
Yeah.
And like I told you, on the head, we go there. I like the C there.
Okay. Nice.
Or even C sharp.
Okay.
Which does fit theoretically better. But especially if you play that E flat 7, and if I play, I've got, there's so much tension there.
Yeah.
Because I can, things.
Nice.
For a bass player, this tune's a blast.
Yeah.
Because there is so much motion. You sort of get to pick sort of which channel of harmony you want to ride on.
Yeah,
for each thing.
Yeah, which direction to go on. Nice.
Yeah. So, that's...
We get to the bridge. We have the F minor. Then we get this D flat. Bless you.
Oi.
So you get the D flat. It's kind of interesting in the melody too that we have this little B. So it's interesting in the melody we have this. It's like this note is like a kind of a blue flat five on
Right.
the F. So in that context, it doesn't feel like that's part of the chord.
No.
And then they give you the chord with that note in it.
Right.
It's kind of wild, right? It's
Yeah,
kind of
you
like
get the-
now, or yeah. So you're playing like F minor. It just sounds kind of bluesy.
Oh yeah, completely.
Yeah, and then they're like, okay,
Yeah.
that note's just right inside now. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. Monk, I of the opinion, as a lot of people are, that Monk is an absolute genius composer.
Yeah.
He got a weird reputation for being a little odd.
Yeah.
He's incredibly creative, incredibly inventive.
Yeah.
And, you know, here we are decades later looking at this going, look at how cool that is. You know?
Exactly.
There's this beautiful writing going on here that's fun and interesting. And like you say, gives you that.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. And then it's
oh, that's
then
awesome.
Then it's just you just settle into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get this little line. What an odd interval there to
Yeah.
to hit that. Probably to our years now and modern days, it's not really that odd, but I mean, it's still the tritone is always going to be a dissonant interval, but it's interesting to think that maybe it was perceived differently at one time. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and you know, Monk would use the tritone a lot.
And the half step,
Yeah.
very dissonant intervals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much. But it's kind of funny because I look at Monk and I look at artists at the same time, like painters and sculptors. There's
Okay.
a very experimental thing. There's very angular work
Right.
going on. You're not seeing painters make, you know, great big pictures of flowers.
Right.
Or if they are, you really have to look for it to figure out it's a flower.
Yeah. So they're kind of abstracting.
Very much so.
things.
Yeah, and to me, these composers like Monk really follow that.
Yeah.
You know, they are definitely of their time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, if you went to the museum and you saw Cubist art, you're thinking, well, you know, musically that'd be kind of cool. Look at all these angles and corners and
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. So one other thing we were talking about, including in today's video, was the idea of, well, injury or even just discomfort in the hands and having to play a gig or record.
Yeah.
In spite of that, I was mentioning to you that this happens to me just kind of randomly from time to time. I'm not sure the reason on it, but it feels like a bruise at the tip of your bone, at the tip of your finger, like under the callus. That's what that's what it feels like. I don't know if there's a name for that.
Probably.
There probably is.
Probably. But yeah, I mean, it could be that you're just hitting it the right way. It could be a blood flow issue. It could be
Yeah.
There could be it's just sort of the way you got assembled, and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it happens from time to time. So you mentioned that you had some cuts.
A couple of days ago, I was working on a repair and managed to have a brand new X-Acto knife, really sharp.
Wow.
Pretty much just touched 2 fingers, and it was a dumb move, and I stopped paying attention for 2 seconds, and
That's when it happens. Yeah.
yeah, and I had things kind of under tension, and
Yeah. Oh man.
so I've had Band-Aids on. I super glued this morning, which mostly held.
Yeah.
Not totally, but mostly.
And you played a gig.
And then I played a gig this morning, and now we're doing that. And then I got a gig tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will just be applying super glue liberally.
Right.
And it's sore, and I have to watch. You know, normally my hand would sit like this, but with my second finger, that hurts. That's tender, so I got to come up like this. My third finger, I would normally play kind of curled up like that.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Okay.
It hurts, so I'm actually having to reverse how I tend to use 2 fingers,
Okay. Yeah.
and just be aware of that because it will let me know if I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So if you're playing with X-Acto knives, watch it. Good super glue, not the stuff from the grocery store, but get the stuff from the hobby store.
Okay.
I think for string instrument players
Yeah.
should just have some in the house.
Yeah. When I was playing bass more regularly, I would play a couple gigs per week on that instrument. I'm sure you can barely see it in the video, but this is kind of in my early 20s, and I found that the callus under my nail would get so big that it would just like start kind of pushing up against my nail. I don't know if you've experienced that at all.
I have, but it's funny. For most of my life, I really don't have that big a callus.
Okay. Yeah.
And when I have gotten heavily calloused, I'll take a nail file
Okay.
and knock that down
Knock them down. Yeah.
because I lose feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
that-
Both hands. You have that. Like I don't get calluses in this hand really so much anymore. I may have some light roughness,
Mhm.
but on bass, I think back in the day.
Yeah.
I
Now,
had a
what's
little-
funny is I do have a permanent. We're talking about right here, permanently just a little thicker,
Okay.
and that's for playing upright.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's that trick where you kind of grab from the knuckle to the
Yeah.
end and really
Dig into it.
dig in. Great sound. Murder on your fingers.
Yeah. Yeah. So gotta play, through the pain or discomfort or what have you, and kind of get through it.
Yeah. And like I say, you have to adjust. I have to be aware where these two fingers are, and it affects how I move.
Yeah.
Because where normally I would play something and just, very comfortably fly around.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, no, you can't do that. No, you actually have to be interesting, not just fast.
Exactly. So let's take a look at the tune a little bit more here too. So we have this chromatic line. Let's go straight down from the root to the fifth, at least of the F minor, the F relative to the F chord. So we have the B flat 7. So this one thing may want to just in general think about in your playing, which is does the chord that you're playing naturally just occur in this key, right? So the key of 4 flats has a D flat, and this chord B flat 7 has a D natural, just like the melody.
Right.
So it makes sense. So that's sitting a little bit outside. So you might say, okay, that's a 5 of the 5. Right. So we get a dominant 7 moving to the E flat 7 and then to the 1. Right. So just get 5 5. So that's fairly self-explanatory, I guess. But then we have the F7. So another spot where, well, we have an A natural.
Right.
So this is a good exercise to try, is just say, okay, survey the notes in the chord that you're playing, and then ask yourself, are they sitting inside of
Right.
that key? So
Yeah.
we have A natural doesn't occur in the key of A flat, 4 flats.
No, because that really is, to my way of thinking, a passing tone
Okay, yeah.
between that A flat 6 and the B flat minor 7.
Yeah.
Because that's where the motion is. It's like the first 4 bars, the motion is at the 7.
Right. So you could
Now
even
it's-
play a bass line like that, right? I could play. Right. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's so. Yeah, it's funny. That's some tunes. The motion, like we've talked about in the past, sometimes the motion is sort of on the outside of the chord. It's the root, and the
Yeah.
fifth, and kind of big obvious things. And then sometimes you get a tune like this where the motion is inside.
Yeah.
And Monk likes to switch it around. He goes from the 7, then he's playing with thirds,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
this stuff is moving, but it's it's not, the motion isn't where you would expect it to be. And
Yeah.
that's part of the fun of the tune.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Now that you mentioned that, kind of jogs my memory. I was going to talk about this a little bit earlier, but we have this little encircling
Mhm.
thing happening. So you have, this is something that you could use in composing tunes, like this one, and then also in your improv,
Mhm.
right? So you take a half step above, half step below, and then you go to where you're ending up as a
Right.
target, right?
Mhm.
So you get, okay, and then we're gonna move to the, so that's gonna be the C, the A flat,
Mhm.
okay. And go to F7, and then it does another encircling kind of thing
Yeah.
with that. So you get a half step above and a half step below.
Yeah. So while you got that going on, I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah. So you've got the kind of this beautiful little da-da-da
Yeah.
things happening.
And it communicates something, you know, collectively,
Mhm.
right? So it's the progression, the melody, it all kind of sets your ear in a direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we get this little,
Yeah.
what a great line that is.
Yeah. It is just a kill. It's a straight blues lick.
Yeah.
Yeah. A really
Yeah.
cool blues lick, but it is.
Yeah. Because, yeah, you get the
Yeah.
flat three, and then you get to the third. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's this nice little, you know, it's kind of like, it almost reminds me of Django, that tune Django for a minute there.
Yeah, which, and this is some research I probably should do, but somebody's probably already done it.
Okay.
How many things
Leave
like
a
that?
comment.
Yes,
Sorry.
please. How many little phrases, like little mini phrases in this song, are Bud Powellisms?
Mm-hmm. Nice.
What did he grab?
Yeah.
And I have never actually looked at,
Yeah.
you know, is a lick like that. It sounds like it should be a Bud Powell lick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it could very well be.
Yeah. So where he is definitely taking stylistic things.
Yeah, and then the virtuosity of Bud Powell and his ability with counterpoint and all that, I think combined a little bit with the lightness, like you said, the sensibility of how Thelonious Monk just sort of approaches things too. I think it's a really great combination, great study of both of those players. Cool. So you wanted to mention a musician that you've been listening to.
Yeah, actually for years and years and years. For a long
Okay.
time I didn't know who it was.
Okay.
And then got smart quite a while back and now really listen to is Carlos Benavent,
Okay.
Spanish bass player.
Nice.
He's considered the father of flamenco bass playing.
Okay.
He was Paco de Lucia's bassist for years.
Yeah.
And he could keep up with Paco, so there you go.
Yeah.
You know?
Enough said.
He also was in Chick Corea's Spanish Heart band. So you hear
Oh,
him
he
with
was
that.
on that recording.
Yeah, so you hear him with, there's a couple of bass players. He did a lot of it. The stuff that really sounds Spanish is definitely him
Okay.
because he's got that thing. But his latest albums are stunning. I mean, the composition and the playing is really amazing. And it is not just a bass player's album.
Okay.
You know, the guy is a virtuoso player.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to listen to him just do his thing. But then he's writing for percussion and horns, in some cases voice, and it is really something. You know, it is so beautiful.
Nice. So is his work small groups? Bigger?
Tends to be small groups. You know, if you look up on YouTube, not the best sound quality, but at least you can see him. He's got solo stuff.
Yeah.
There's duet stuff. He does a trio gig at a hotel in Barcelona. Go figure.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would kill to see it. And it's him, a percussionist, and a piano player.
Okay.
He's got videos with him and just a percussionist. Then there's stuff where he's playing with somebody else, and it could be 8 people.
Yeah.
and maybe a flamenco dancer. They are Spanish after all.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is kind of, it seems to tend towards smaller groups, sort of 5, 6
Yeah.
players. It really is breathtaking stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
definitely find them. If you have a good streaming service, use that.
Right.
Because, yeah.
Because, yeah, different, file types and, it really affects the way things sound. So if you can listen to, like, I think Spotify Premium, you get a higher
You get a higher bit rate.
bit rate, all that.
I use Tidal
Okay.
because Spotify has policies I really don't agree with.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so look those up on your own. Don't want the lawyers calling. I love Tidal. Amazing selection and the best sound quality I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
really, really stunning. And like I say, you can pull up stuff like Carl's Benevent, and it's his whole catalog.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Okay. Nice. Awesome. Great. So let's see. I guess we should probably start wrapping it up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, great tune. There's also a vocal version of this tune,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
There are probably many, but
Yeah, I think Manhattan Transfer did a version. Didn't I think New York Voices might have done a version.
yeah,
Yeah, a bunch of
yeah,
Kurt Elling, I think
that's
did
what
a
I'm thinking
version. If he didn't, Kurt, do a version.
yeah. So yeah, that's really cool when you put a monk tune, put some lyrics on, and it's really awesome. All right, everybody. Well, you want to play through the tune one more
Yeah,
time?
why not?
Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much for checking this out. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks, guys.
See you in the next one.